Hey guys, what's going on? So I can't stress enough how much of a podcast video this is going to be. You really don't need to look at the screen. I say this every video, but especially this one, because I'm not even going to do gameplay. It's literally probably just going to be this screen, and I'm probably going to just choose a couple of different things, but that's it. Because I wanted to talk about how I'm probably not going to do a Crystalmancer video. I might eventually do one in the future, like a Crystalmancer, character spotlight video, just because eventually I will maybe theoretically do one for every character. That's like an idea, right? Like my I don't know, if you don't know, I have a character spotlight series. Go into my playlists. I like putting things in order, and so I have a bunch of different playlists for a bunch of different things, and one of them is character spotlight videos, where I want to focus on like one specific character and talk about them and show you how I would use them, and why they're good, and why, you know, like what their talents are, and all the different things. And most of the time, most units are very interesting to talk about, or I have a lot of thoughts on them. And obviously Crystalmancer came out a little while ago. Quite some time ago, and I was very, like, when the update dropped and Crystalmancer was getting talents, it was one of the things that I was very excited for, because Crystalmancer, I always felt, would get so much better if it just had talents, and if it fixed all of its weaknesses. Its major weakness being it had no AoE. It only dealt, like, single target damage, and it just struggled against wave enemies, right? And so then Crystalmancer dropped, and I automatically just upgraded every single talent, because I had the cores. I obviously have the money. I have way too much money. I obviously have the cores. This is the faction that I have the most cores for, and so I immediately upgraded everything, and I was very excited. I did like other spotlight videos. Ironically, I was more excited about Crystalmancer than I was about Night Statue, and I've done I don't know if I did a spotlight on Night Statue, but basically my PSA to use Night Statue is Spear Dash. I would like to think that Spear Dash is like my own creation, because I'm the only person that cares about Blooming Dash Blade Dancer. But I still play Spear Dash, and I think it's really good. I think it's very strong. You still die to like Tribunal, but like that was always Blooming Dash's problem. I was going to do another Spear Dash co-op, like I was going to do I was going to post a playthrough, and that is actually what prompted me to think about, like, I was like, oh wow, I never did a Crystalmancer video. Like, I've done all of these other separate videos about the update, and I never did a Crystalmancer video. And I started to wonder, like, why haven't I done one? And the simple answer is, I think that the things that you can beat, like when they come out with these DPS, when they give talents to these DPS type commons, epics, and rares, I don't think they're ever going to be in the meta. Because to be in the meta, to be something of value and of importance, you have to have some separate ability, because your damage is not going to be one of them. Legendaries will always outclass commons, epics, and rares for damage because of their damage scaling. They just have stronger damage. That's literally it. The damage number on a legendary is just better. It's just more. And then that damage also scales. They have, most legendaries, with like the really good ones, will have an ability where it says like, oh, if you do this thing, you get plus percentages. And then you continue to get plus percentages as long as you continue doing this thing. Equilibrium, monk, or the blessing on Monk's talent, Light Inquisitor, Dark Inquisitor, Demon Hunter, Blooming Dash Blade Dancer, Floral Frenzy Blade Dancer, like most, or their damage number is just so strong to start with, Spirit Master, Tesla, that it just automatically will outscale anything that's common, epic, and rare as a DPS unit. when you look at Crystalmancer, at max level, at max everything, you're dealing 282. You're dealing 282 damage at max rarity, or at max level, at max mana power level, and there is nothing in the entire kit to increase that number. Yes, High Arcanist increases that number. Yes, Crystal Connection increases that number. And speed increases that damage, right? Because you're attacking faster, so your speed is better, and so you're dealing more. But there's a cap. And that cap is, because that cap is created, and there isn't an ability other than the High Arcanist, because when it gets 500 charges, its damaging is increased by 0.25. The 0.25 doesn't continue to scale. And even if it does, High Arcanist's ability of attacking once every 3 seconds is its biggest detriment. If I was going to talk about anything, I would probably talk about the High Arcanist version, but I just simply don't like it. I'd rather play the Crystal Arcanist version, and the Crystal Arcanist version is much weaker. And the High Arcanist version is technically stronger, but the attacking every 3 seconds thing, like if your High Arcanist gets stunned by a robot ability, if it gets puddinged, if it gets like the mini pudding thing, if it gets that, or the gazer, I think it's the gazer, where it throws like a pudding thing on it, if it gets stunned like that, and then you have to wait another 3 seconds after, you just fall so far behind, and that's how you lose. And there's no way to increase that either. It's like Catapult. It's just an ability where it can only attack every 3 seconds. And there's been impressive damage numbers that you can get from it. And that's great. But if you don't hit that damage, when it matters, and if you don't protect it with Mermaid level 5, the deck just doesn't work. Lightning Rod is so much less effective than I thought it would have been, that I thought it would be. The Absorb Energy is not it's not guaranteed. It's still good, but it's not the best thing, because Crystalmancer just in general isn't that strong of a unit. At which point you have to look at the other idea of it, which is similar to a Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter, it's a damage unit, but you're not using it for its damage. You're using it for its, I'm going to stun my opponent's board. So then you have to look at a DPS unit like this, like a common, epic, and rare, and look at, does it do anything else? And as I expected when I originally saw Crystalmancer's Talents, the ability to reduce armor by 0.5% with its attack up to 100%, while good, is too slow. Because you have to keep attacking, and as it keeps attacking, you're doing 0.5, now it's 1, now it's 1.5, now it's 2, now it's 2.5, now it's 3, right? Every time you attack, it's a 0.5%, right? Up to 100%. Up to 100% is negated by Chemist and by Trapper, because it's much quicker, because it's immediate. Which means that even it's I'm going to lower the opponent's defense is not good either, because it's too slow. And it doesn't matter how fast you speed this up, Tribunal will still hit you. Bedlam will still hit you if you are trying to add up to, can I hit this unit 50 times, or what is it? 50 times? Because you're doing 0.5 per? Do you have to, it's 0.5. You have to hit a unit is it 200 times to get 100%? Because you're only doing 0.5% per hit. You'd have to hit something 200 times for it to get up to 100%. How quickly can you make your Crystalmancer hit something 200 times in order for that one unit to get 100% armor defense reduction? Like, as opposed to like what, two trapper traps, one chemist hit, right? I feel like, the best thing that I can say about Crystalmancer is that if you could beat a deck with an engineer, like a max engineer, if you can beat somebody with like a max engineer, you could probably beat them with the max Crystalmancer. But if you can't beat somebody with a max engineer, you're probably not going to beat them with a max Crystalmancer. And I trust that somebody in the comments is going to be like, I beat Demon Hunter with my High Arcanist, like it's so good. Yeah, I trust that there are those one-off times where you can figure out some kind of deck build where it's kind of okay. But I'm saying for the most part, I'm saying like yes, you can push an engineer with like, you know, Scrapper and, you know, what's it called, like Growth Tile and, you know, Mermaid. And if you had a level 20 Mermaid, it would be so good. And if you had Scrapper and you used Dryad, and it would be amazing. And you could use like a new school, like if you had a max sword, but you're trying so hard. And I can't in all consciousness, I can't in all conscience suggest to my viewers, which is you, the casual person, to invest into Crystalmancer because it's going to be this great DPS unit. If you have any legendary, invest into that legendary, because Crystalmancer is not going to do it for you. Because if you're already at the point where you have like a level 9, level 10, level 11 legendary, that is already going to outclass a max Crystalmancer. I'm at 4,000 crit, and I was struggling all the time to kill anybody with a Crystalmancer deck. And I just don't think it's not good as a damage unit, and it's not good as a support unit either. Because it doesn't have good enough damage, and it doesn't have an ability that's good enough for support. So I think it's fine in the same way that I think Engineer is fine, the same way that I think Alchemist is fine, but they're eventually just going to get outclassed if you're running up against max legendaries. And so I think that's probably going to be my thought process on all of these like old school like common epics and rares that they're giving talents to this late in the game. That they've just hard focused on giving so many legendaries talents that they've forgotten to give commons, epics, and rares talents. Because there was a point in this game where maybe if they gave commons, epics, and rares talents before they gave legendaries talents, that the commons, epics, and rares could be theoretically better than legendaries or as good as legendaries. But they didn't want to do that. And so they gave legendaries talents to where if they decide to give Wind Archer talents, trust me right when I say this right now, and you can backtrace this video to see if it ages well, I don't think it's going to be better than Boreas. And I don't think Boreas is good. And so if they eventually give Wind Archer talents, Wind Archer is an epic card, which means it should be a little bit worse than a Boreas. So yes, it's going to be better than what it is now, but it's not going to be better than a Boreas. At which point you're still never going to use it because you'd rather use Boreas. But then at that point, you should never use Boreas because Boreas is bad. You should probably use any other legendary. And that's how I think that's the predicament that I see them, that they've put themselves in. Unless they give something a talent that is useful as a support unit that you can use as a support unit in a good deck, and it becomes a support card, they turn a DPS card into a really good support card. Unless they do that, I don't think that you're ever going to use these things that are commons, epics, and rares. Like if they have Thrower and they give it like the Bombardier talent, like, oh, every so often it has a chance to stun and disable bosses. Like it's max talent. It throws a giant rock and it disables a boss like that would be insane. Everybody would use thrower. Everybody would use max thrower. But if they're just going to make it like a slightly better damage unit, and it's like, oh, every 5th rock, it throws 5 rocks. It's like, okay, cool. It's better than what it used to be. It's still not great. And that's kind of how I feel about Crystalmancer. And I feel like that's basically where I am with it. And that's why I haven't made a Crystalmancer, like, playthrough, like, look at these cool talents, look at how amazing Crystalmancer is, because I don't think it's that amazing. And I don't really want to just be like every other like content creator and say like, use this unit, it's so great, it's so amazing. Because even as a person that was really excited for it, I'm not excited about it anymore. And so that's probably why you will never see me do like gameplay with Crystalmancer.